for Eco Smart Kids, and I'm here today with Dean Miller. Dean, tell me about yourself.
Well, thank you, Coco, for chatting to me. My name is Dr. Dean Miller, and I'm the, project leader of the Forever Reef Project. I'm a marine biologist,
Hmm.
an adventurer, a multimedia professional, and I've managed to bring all those things together to try and help save the Great Barrier Reef. So our plan really is to get out there and collect every species of coral on the Great Barrier Reef and then keep them alive in these amazing tank systems. They're kind of like life support systems for coral. And it's a bit of an insurance policy, really, with climate change and continued mass coral bleaching events. The Great
Yeah.
Barrier Reef is doing it pretty tough. And so we're giving Mother Nature a bit of a helping hand and kind of creating a living backup of
Mm.
what's on the Great Barrier Reef today. So we have options for tomorrow.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, well, I've got a few questions for you. So Dean, number one, why is the Great Barrier Reef so special?
Wow, that is a question that I could probably talk about for maybe a day or two. It is an extremely special place to me personally, but
Mm.
of course to our planet as well. It's the largest living, well, almost organism on the planet. It is a big ecosystem. It spans from the Torres Strait in the north all the way to Bundaberg in the south, about 2,200 kilometres.
Yeah.
It's 344,000 square kilometres in area, about the size of Japan. So a
Holy.
very, very big place. But it
Yeah.
is, the Earth's greatest representation of what a coral reef ecosystem should look like. So
Yeah.
it's extremely impressive. There are thousands of individual reefs. And then there are literally thousands of species that call it home. So it's one of the most biodiverse ecosystems or areas on the planet.
Yeah.
And for me, it's kind of like Mother Nature saying, uh, look at me, this is what I can do. How beautiful, is the planet that I can create. And so, yeah, as a marine biologist, I find the Great Barrier Reef to be the ultimate marine ecosystem. And of course, I live up here in Port Douglas, so it is my backyard. It's where I live, it's where I work, it's where I take my family for recreational activities to go and see the beautiful Great Barrier Reef. So, on many, many, many different levels, it is an amazingly special place.
Amazing. And do you snorkel there often?
Yeah, as often as I can. We try to get out on our little boat, and obviously we go out and collect the corals. So I go scuba diving as well to do surveys for diversity, but we also get underwater and actually bring the corals back to this facility. So yeah, plenty of time underwater.
Yeah, fantastic. Can you tell me a little about the process of collecting coral?
Yeah, so it's a relatively simple process, and thankfully, coral is kind of adapted to our ability to do this.
Mm.
So, corals are an animal with plant in their tissue, and that's what gives the coral all their color. So, everything you see in this tank, color wise, comes from the plant that lives within the coral.
Yeah.
Um, and so when we get coral bleaching, it's basically a stress response of the coral animal. And the only ability for it to try to save itself is to get rid of the algae in its tissue because the algae is overproducing
Mm.
sugars, which it normally would do, but it also creates oxygen, which is kind of toxic. So to try to remove that stress, we go and collect the corals and bring them in here. And once they're in here, it's a bit of a five-star resort. We can control all the environmental factors, particularly temperature, which is the big sort of stress out in the natural environment right now.
Yeah.
But once we're underwater, we find the corals that we want to collect. We take a small sample of that coral. We try to never take the full coral off the reef, and it's we want to leave the genetic material out there just in case it's a really rare coral. But we also know that once the corals are in here, they're alive and they'll keep on growing. So we only need quite a small sample. So we bring the coral back to the boat. We create little tank systems on the boat to keep the coral alive until we get back here. The corals then go through a little quarantine phase of about 4 to 6 weeks where they've got to pass some rigorous tests to make sure that they're happy and healthy enough to come into their forever home, which is these big tanks here. Um, Once the corals have passed that test, depending on the type of coral, we'll actually fragment them, which means cut them into smaller pieces. So here's a piece that's actually grown quite well over the last couple of years. But you might be able to see on the bottom there is a little acrylic base, and in that is a little microchip. And within that microchip, it tells us which coral species this is, where it was found, the temperature, the depth we collected it from, the water chemistry on the day, the GPS location, which reef. And then once it's in this system, we can actually track and trace how well it's growing and how healthy it is. So as you can see, that coral is actually growing extremely well. And if we were to fragment that, which means cut that up into smaller pieces once again, we'd
Mm.
probably get maybe 20 to 30 different corals
Wow.
that we could grow up and kind of reproduce the coral that way. So yeah, it's an interesting little system. So that's what it takes to actually collect the coral. And then what you see here, as I mentioned before, is a bit of a life support system for coral. So each one of these tanks, and in this facility, we actually have 5 of these tanks operational right now. They're a mini Great Barrier Reef. So we provide everything the corals need, from the lights that you see above me, which are actually feeding the corals, they're pretending to be the sun,
Wow.
to the water, which is chemically stable. And then underneath this tank, which you can't see, is quite a complex biological filtration system to make sure that we're mimicking nature as closely as possible.
That's so interesting. And do you take more than just the one species of coral, or do you take like a few different samples, or is it just like,
Yeah. It's a
uh,
very good question. Our plan is to initially get one of everything, just
yeah,
to make sure that we've got at least one representative. But
yeah,
ultimately, we want between 20 and 30 different representatives of every species. And that's to make sure that we've got enough, I guess, genetic diversity within the species that we've collected to then be able to possibly create a a farm out situation should the Great Barrier Reef continue to decline in health, which unfortunately it looks like it might.
mm,
We may need to call upon this collection to actually help rebuild reefs. And to do that, you have to have enough genetic diversity to do that. Otherwise, you're kind of putting out corals that won't be as, I guess, tough and robust enough to put up with the changes that the environment's providing.
yeah. And so, do you reckon the biggest facing challenge for coral at the moment is the sun?
The sun is partly the cause, but it's more about the way that our planet's responding to that sunlight and heat energy, I guess. So over the last couple of 100 years, we've been a very busy species, and we've gone through what we call the Industrial Revolution, which is where we've built and I guess scaled very quickly in terms of our population and the places that we live. And by doing that, we've created a lot of, I guess, harmful gases and byproducts for the planet. And we're starting to feel the repercussions of that right now. So lots of carbon dioxide in the air, which kind of acts to almost heat the planet, almost like a small greenhouse where the heat that's coming in is getting trapped and not being able to escape. And what that's doing is increasing water temperature or sea surface temperature. So it's really temperature driving this majorly. So what we're seeing is global warming and a changing climate. And while corals could normally adapt to this kind of temperature change over thousands and thousands of years, we're asking them to do it in individual summers. And
Mm,
they're just struggling. So it's a combination of heat, water temperature, but also direct UV radiation as well. So we're coming into a weather pattern cycle called El Nino,
yeah.
and this year is being predicted as being a particularly bad one
Mm,
for Australia on the east coast. That's going to mean lots of very beautiful days at the beach. So no clouds, lots of sun, no wind. But what that means is things dry out on the land, and that's when we start seeing our very severe bushfire
yeah.
season. So 2020 was our last big sort of El Nino period. Underwater, what that means is a lot of heat in the water initially, and part of that is a big body of warm water coming over the Pacific Ocean right now, and will bump into Australia and kind of has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And then the coral heat up, and they can't get up and move around, so they just have to sit there. And in 2016, when we saw our first mass bleaching event, effectively corals were kind of cooking in the water. The water was that hot that they just couldn't survive anymore. So it's a combination of that and then that direct UV radiation on those beautiful, clear, sunny days,
Yeah.
kind of supercharging the algae within the coral's tissue and
Mm.
creating a toxic environment. So unfortunately, yeah, we have a two-pronged problem for corals right now. But look, there are some species out there that can put up with it.
Mm.
There's not many out of the 415 or so on the Great Barrier Reef. Only about 20 or 30 are actually doing pretty good. The rest are doing it quite tough. So yeah, it's a very tough time, not just for the Great Barrier Reef, but for coral reefs worldwide. And unfortunately, you know, this is now a global problem for one of our most important ecosystems on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Well, okay, so what are you and your team doing to help?
Well, we are obviously collecting all the corals as that living backup or coral ark to make sure that we're A, conserving as many species as possible, but B, providing living corals, tissue samples, and genetic material for reef research and restoration efforts. But just as importantly, we run a tourism activity out of this facility up here in Port Douglas. And so education is a major, I guess, factor about what we do, trying to educate people about the importance of coral reefs and what we can do to help them, but also how people's activities on any given day is actually contributing or improving the situation. So, you know, we're out there running cars and burning fossil fuels, or we're being very, I guess, proactive and racing to renewables and putting solar panels on our roofs and driving electric cars and maybe riding more bikes. So, look, everyone has a decision to make.
Mm.
We're just trying to educate them so they make the correct decision. But I think we're moving in the right direction. We're doing pretty well.
Yeah, well, that leads to my next question. Can renewable energy and new technology help protect places like the reef? And if so, how?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I think yeah, we've got to race as fast as we can to renewable energy.
Yeah.
It's going to be the thing that saves us. If we continue on the path that we're on, we are going to lose the reef. And look, it's a bit of a canary in the coal mine in that it's one of the first ecosystems globally that's showing us that the planet is under severe stress. We've obviously got the polar ice caps melting and glaciers failing.
Yeah.
That's another one. But beyond that, you know, there will be a domino effect of other ecosystems that start to fail beyond coral reefs. So I think as a species, we really need to lift our game and move as fast as we can to some of the incredible technology that's out there right now.
100%.
And I think it also makes really good financial sense. You know, a lot of these options that we have on the table right now actually save us a lot of money. So I think people are starting to realize that not only are we saving the planet, but you also improve your wallet as well. And that's
Exactly.
unfortunately you know, a very strong driving factor for a lot of people.
100%. Okay, well, I have a fun question for you. If you could be any sea creature in the Great Barrier Reef, what would you be?
Oh, that is a great question. What would I be? Ooh, I would think I'd probably have to be a shark of some description.
Yeah.
They're probably my favourite marine animal. I'd like to say great white. We don't get them on the Great Barrier Reef very often. They are, you know, very, very occasional visitors. But look, I'd like to be probably a little black tip reef shark, just living my life out on the reef. Yeah, reefs are pretty amazing places. They're kind of like bustling cities where there's lots going on, lots of colour, lots of movement. And so to be a little black tip reef shark on the reef would be pretty fun, I
That's so cute. Um,
reckon.
well, myself, I'd probably be a hammerhead shark. I don't think we get them there either. Maybe we do occasionally, but man, they're so cool. I don't know. I have like a fascination with them. And
Yeah,
my parents have been snorkeling in the Great Barrier Reef like maybe a handful of times as well. So I know just how gorgeous it is, and it is actually quite just a shame how that has the sun has been affecting and the water temperatures because it's such a vibrant place and it's just so beautiful to just see with your own eyes and like experience and be around the liveliness of the reef. It's just it's once in a lifetime opportunity, genuinely.
It
So
is a very, very special place, and it would be a shame if we didn't do everything we can in our power to look after it while we have the opportunity to do so. And that's what this is all about: is really, you know, getting your hands dirty and kind of making a difference. Everyone has the ability to make a difference, no matter how small or big.
yeah.
And this is the particular path that we've chosen.
Mm.
Yeah, we're extremely proud of our progress so far, but we've still got some work to do, and we're very excited about sharing this with not only Australia but the rest of the world, and coming up with a solution at the end of the day of how we actually protect corals.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I have my last finishing question for you. If you could give
Yep.
advice to any good wee kid, what would you say? What's your advice? Your number one
Uh,
thing?
I think the Goodwe kids have already made great decisions by partnering up with the project.
Yeah.
Um, it's a fantastic initiative, and I know that we've had it here in Port Douglas, and my daughter is very much a part of it.
Mm,
What would I say? I would say get involved as much as you possibly can and take advantage of the amazing resources that Eco Smart Kids, I guess, provides in great people coming out to schools and speaking, the opportunity to create your own projects and really do a bit of a deep dive into how you personally can actually help save not only the Great Barrier Reef but our planet. But yeah, I just love the project. I think it's a fantastic initiative, and I just
100%.
want to encourage all the kids to get involved as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, well, it sounds like an amazing cause, and I know I've been to the Forever Reef project in Port Douglas, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's so the facilities are amazing, and all the coral stunning. Even the how vibrant they can be. Like you've got lime green and like magenta, and you've got all these different colors. It's so pretty.
Yeah, no, it is amazing, and yeah, I mean, it doesn't, compare to the beauty of the actual Great Barrier Reef, but it's a pretty good second place.
100%. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was really nice talking to you, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Bye.